And Luke McCurdy from 1-800 Possums has kindly joined me in the studio to talk all things possums. But Luke, welcome. Lovely to have you on Arvos. First, let's start with these poor little fellows that have been caught in this terrible fire.
Yeah, look, it's pretty terrible what happens to animals in these situations. They're often the forgotten victims. It's not very nice to see all the possums and koalas and so on. We often see the firefighters giving them water, which is lovely. This even really hot weather affects the animals. Often obviously we know possums live in our buildings and in our roofs, and we have possums who get really badly affected on a really hot day and just almost cooking inside a roof. So as we were saying earlier, there's a real love-hate relationship with possums, isn't there?
There is. I absolutely love possums. My mother hates them because they come and eat her plants, and they're very destructive.
Yeah.
But I find it really interesting why they are a native animal.
Yeah, that's right. And all native animals are good for the environment and good for, the general good of our planet. Introduced species, another subject. But, the people get upset because they're eating their plants, and I can understand that. And it's very difficult to stop activity in your garden. We obviously get possums out of buildings, but when it comes to possums in your garden, it's really tricky to deal with. We get calls every day for people asking us to relocate them out of their property, and it's actually illegal and inhumane because possums getting relocated get very stressed and can just die when they're moved.
So that's interesting. So people, and I'll use my mum as an example, who don't like them in her garden, that is not a time to call you to come and relocate them. That's a bad thing.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, we have a web page designed to share with people that does help them with some options, but unfortunately most of it is futile. There's a spray called Poss Off. You can spray on small plants and it makes it taste a bit weird, so they won't eat it. There's a few things you can do, but most of it is futile. They find a favourite plant, they're going to be really hard to move on from that spot. So, that's about, unfortunately. I mean,
there's some pretty nasty things going on out there as far as how people are dealing with possums.
Unfortunately, at the moment, we're getting a call or two every week or three where people are being scammed essentially by people who are offering to get possums out of their roof, and they're just turning up and setting a possum trap on the roof. Now, it's actually illegal to set a possum trap outside because you can trap a possum that's walking past. Now, these people are setting up these traps and just leaving them on a roof and driving away and telling the client to call them if they see a possum in the trap. Well, not many people get up on their roof every day to check a possum trap. And we've had times where we are going out to sites and finding a dead possum in a trap because it's just been left there, and the person it's highly illegal, first of all, and it's just not fixing people's problems. So people are spending over $500 and just getting totally ripped off and not having their problem solved or killing a possum. It's really upsetting for the clients and obviously the possums, and for me because I'm trying to do a job properly and humanely.
1300 222 774 is our phone number. Give us a call about possums. Virginia, my producer, her sister lives in South Melbourne area, and she's got a little balcony with a barbecue, and she found a family of possums living in her barbecue.
I get a call about that every 2 weeks or so.
What do you do with that?
That's actually a pretty easy one. So possums are obviously nocturnal. So by 9 or 10 o'clock, you'll find they've moved on. And if it's inside a barbecue lid, it's quite simple. You just fill that barbecue lid with a pillow or something that fills the space. They can't get in there, and they'll find another home. You haven't hurt the possum, you haven't touched it. It just makes it impossible because they want to hide. Otherwise, they feel like they'll get attacked by birds during the day. So the idea is if they're hiding somewhere on a balcony, make it so it's not a hiding place anymore, and the possum will move on. You haven't hurt the possum, you've just made it move to, and they often have more than one home. So that's the most humane way of dealing with it.
Okay, Damien joins us. Hello, Damien. Yeah, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, look, possum boxes, possum homes, we sell them, we install them occasionally. We just can't guarantee they will use them. They'll actually prefer often to live in your roof. But that's really nice of you, mate. Keep doing that. Anyone who can, the more possum homes, the more likely they will be safe and not in your roof. That's a really good idea. And often when we do possum-proof buildings and get them out, we install a possum box to give the possum somewhere to go. Again, unfortunately, we can't guarantee they'll use it. But yeah, that's definitely the way to go. We're out your way, actually, mate. So if you ever get in your roof, you know who to call.
Yeah. Thank you, Damien. I'm speaking with Luke McCurdy from 1-800 Possums. He receives many calls every day about possum problems. I've got one for you here. My mum, again, She has an. It's so sad. She has an albino blind possum
Oh,
that
that's
comes
yeah.
out during the day because it obviously.
Of course, yeah.
And she feels sick about it. She doesn't know what to do about it. What would you do with that sort of
Look,
thing?
there's animal rescue. It's a different thing. It's a different license. It's a permitted thing where you can take a possum home and look after it. So that might be a case where someone might be willing to take that possum and just keep it at its home and feed it and look after it. That would be a really humane way to deal with it. I'm not allowed to do that. It's not something. It's sort of more a vet would almost do it, or someone who's got a different type of training in animal care. But yeah, there's definitely animal rescue in most parts of Melbourne, or someone who will travel for it, because you can take a possum home in that scenario, and if you're looking after it in a purpose-built environment where you're feeding it and looking after it, that would give that possum a better chance of life. So yeah, that's an
Okay,
option.
Ralph is on the line. G'day, Ralph. Good, Ralph. Lovely to chat to you again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, look, it's an idea. I'm not 100% against it. They do say feeding animals, wild animals, is not encouraged because they become reliant on it. But obviously, if you're not there one night to feed a possum, it would probably just eat the tree. Again, you are encouraging them into your area and closer to your home. And we've had possums walking kitchen doors and doggy doors because they're coming looking for food. So it's kind of you're playing with fire a little bit. It seems kind enough, but again, sometimes it's not really best for the animals to be fed. They are wild animals who should be in the native environment, and sometimes the foods we feed them is not actually better for their stomachs and their livelihood. So it's a little bit dangerous. But look, tree wraps do work. If you've got a large tree, you can put a piece of tree wrap around the bottom, which we do occasionally, but it's rare that you'll find a tree that's not next to another tree or next to a power line or next to a house. So often, again, that's futile. But a large tree that's standalone, they do it in the botanical gardens and so on. We wrap them, and then the possums can't climb that tree. So if you can trim the tree away from other trees, away from houses, away from power lines, and wrap it at the bottom, you can save a tree and stop droppings falling on your driveway or wherever it's annoying you.
There you go, Ralph. Good on you. Roger would like to know on the text, does dog hair, predator scent in old stockings, work as a possum deterrent?
Possums are a little bit cleverer than we give them credit for. So, yes, it might scare them for a couple of days, but, it's got to be fresh dog hair really regularly. Other people believe mothballs deter them. It'll move them from one part of your roof to another. That's about it. So unless you're going to fill your whole roof with dog hair, it's just not going to stop them. Again, the best preventative is possum proofing your building to stop them getting back in. And, we guarantee our work again. So, that's definitely the best option. So, yes, it has an effect, but it will not move them off your property. It'll just move them a little bit over to the left or right, unless you fill everywhere with dog hair, which is going to get a bit more messy than a possum, I reckon.
John, hello. Got a question? Mate, you're not the first one to use that method, and it will work to a degree.
I'm just not sure if it's, if you've got certain sort of houses, you're probably going to see the light come through. And certain houses are possible. You need three strobes in the roof for it to actually work, because I just moved to a different part. I've had another guy use a smoke machine. He set up a full rave in the roof, a smoke machine and a laser. Yeah, well, they are up late, yes.
That is true. Gary is in leafy Blackburn. Hello, Gary.
Good on you, mate. You're in possum paradise out there. Oh. Yep. That's right. So you create the environment so there's no longer a hiding place for it again. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Putting them in a dark place straight away calms them down. We do actually have to physically grab possums. We have them come down chimneys quite regularly. I've reached up into a chimney to grab a possum, and we big welding gloves and this thing's clamped onto my finger through the gloves. I had a bruise for a few weeks after. It's something we deal with quite regularly, and they do get quite feisty. It's a flight or fright, right? So you go near them, they're going to get pretty feisty. Be really careful handling possums. It is, again, illegal to disturb a native animal in its environment. We only do this when they're trapped somewhere, and the possum will die unless we help it outside. So be really careful doing that. We don't encourage it. They have very strong tails because they'll hang from things, and I've seen other people grab them like a dog by the scruff of the neck, and that doesn't hurt them so much, but they don't like it, and they will go you. So be really careful dealing with them.
Yeah,
be really
Gary.
careful.
Thanks for the call. In Berwick, Beth. Hello, Beth. Good, thanks.
Nice. Nice. That's a new one to me. Obviously, there's a lot of different stories about possums. There is a biliary ulcer that is caused, they believe, by possums, but no one's actually proven that either. Obviously, any feces from an animal is not ideal. It depends what they're eating. Possums eat all sorts of plants and occasionally will eat meat. Depending on what they eat, it can turn into all sorts of different issues for humans. You'd have to be in a very confined environment for their feces to affect your respiratory, I would imagine. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist, I'll be honest, but that would be my guess.
Asking Beth there. Thank
you.
Definitely. I want to ask you, because we are going to have to wind you up, unfortunately. I must get you back to talk about this.
Happy.
It's so interesting what you say, the love-hate. So many people think they're cute little fellows, but so many people are sick of them hurting their gardens. What is the solution?
Well, again, the solution for possums in your garden, tree wrapping and, keeping your trees trimmed back from your house, because they'll use your house as a highway. They'll come across a cable, onto your roof, and then onto a tree at the back of your house. So if you can trim trees back, which we do a bit for clients, you trim back the trees about 1 metre or 2 metres from your house, that'll slow them down, and they might find another route from A to B via your fence or your neighbour's house and leave some of your trees alone.
Blake
It's
McCurdy, I
really
want to know,
tricky.
what is the funniest or strangest place that you found a possum?
Oh, I could tell stories for days. I think one of the funniest ones was we do a lot of nursing homes, hospitals, schools, and so on. They end up in school classrooms, and kids spend the whole day with them next to them. But one of the funniest ones was actually a nursing home, and they had a cat on site to keep the tenants happy and so on. And the tenants were patting this cat, and one of the nurses walked past and saw the cat on the other side of the room, and was like, "What are they patting?
What's going on?"
There must be a pillow or something." Walked over to the cat pole with the little nesting, and there's a possum sleeping in the cat bed.
Oh, how
And the
gorgeous.
tenants hadn't realised they were patting a possum.
Oh.
So we were called out to remove it before anyone patted the wrong end.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
divine. Luke
pretty funny.
McCurdy, thank you. We will get
Thanks
you
for having
again
me.
to chat about possums.
Love
because
to.
They are something we talk about in our family a lot. Our 1,800 possums, for anyone who does have a possum issue. Don't do it yourself. Get Luke McCurdy in to help you.